Hey guys, we are back here. We picked up a new project. We're not even going to talk about the TTR 90 for now, otherwise that thing's going to get thrown through a brick wall. So what we got here is a 86 KX125. I did have to travel a good bit for this bike overall. It sounded really good in the listing. We got there and it wasn't quite as truthful, but since we traveled a long way, we worked out a deal. He had it posted for $1,000. Look at the air manifolds, just like straight silicone. We got cracks in our manifold there. However, I didn't see any clear leaks. Chain and sprockets are decent. The front forks and rear suspension, it's a straight pogo stick, so those are bad. What we know, allegedly it doesn't have spark. That's not even the correct spark plug in there. And it does have some compression. We do have a new clutch lever, so that's nice. Plastics are in really good shape for the age. The pipe is in really good shape. It appears to be complete, and like I said, overall decently clean, but we know it doesn't have sparks, so that's going to be our first check, and we'll check the oil and the coolant, and we'll see what we're working with here, guys. All right, so you just got our gear oil off. We're gonna put our little custom dipstick in here and see if there's any oil in the bike. It's kind of hard to... Some oil. It's definitely dirty. Doesn't look like coolant was mixing with it. We're gonna check a couple more times. I don't think coolant's mixing with it. I think it's just dirty. It's kind of hard to get our custom dipstick in here. Yeah, I don't think coolant's mixing with it. It's just dirty. So that checks out. Let's check our coolant. All right, let's see what we got in here. She's full. So just pulled our plug out. Our plug is a NGK BR9ES, but that is not the right plug. The plug is wet. Looks decently nice. Let's check and see if we got spark here. All right, so you can see we got our plug right here. I'm gonna hop on the bike and give it some kicks. You guys watch. Definitely has some compression, but not much. What do you guys see? All right, so we got our compression tester in there with no extra fitting, so it's straight to the stem. Super hard to get that in there. Just no room on this bike really, but so we got our compression tester on there. Here's a gauge, upside down for you guys. I did want to mention, obviously when I was checking for spark, there was not going to be compression because there's just a hole at the top of the cylinder essentially. So I didn't mean that, but we're gonna do throttle open. We're looking for at least 130. We'd like to see between like 150 and 180 would be perfect. 130 is bare minimum. Let's get kicking here. As I said, throttle open. All right, so as you guys can see, 130 on the head. Get it to focus there. We got 130. That should be enough to get this bike to fire up for sure, which is great. So now we just got to figure out our spark and our fuel. We are going to add just a little bit of oil in the top end. Make sure everything's lubed up good and maybe free those rings up and gain a little bit of compression too. So I guess we're going to check and make sure there's actually a wire getting to the boot, and then we can test to make sure the boot is good too. And then so our ignition coil, we'll check that, our stator, CDI, kind of go through the electrical steps. All right, so the first thing we're gonna check, we got the gas tank off and unhooked from the carb. And the gas looked relatively new, which is good, and it was definitely mixed. We're gonna pull this boot off and see if we're getting if there's a fresh wire to the end of it. Okay, so as you can see, it looks kind of mangled. What we're gonna do is take a snip it back, put the boot back on, and see if something just that simple, because somebody's messed with that. Just snipping where it's fresh. Okay, so we got wire to the end of it. We will screw our boot back on. Put our plug back on. Give it a kick and see what it does. Check the video and see if we got spark. All right, guys, so now we're gonna try and check out our ignition coil. The first thing I did was I found our kill switch. I followed the wires to here. I unhooked our kill switch because maybe that could be malfunctioning and constantly killing the bike essentially. So from my knowledge, if we unhook the ground from here and essentially just have no ground, just the ignition coil to the spark plug, and we still don't have spark, then you know your coil is bad. Because the ground kind of works with everything in the bike. So if you unhook the ground, it is unhooking all other electrical components from the bike. So we're gonna unscrew this and then try it again. Okay guys, so we're still trying to dig into that spark issue. We are looking at our stator magneto here. I Googled some stuff and I have some notes written down up here. But so basically the main thing we're testing is for continuity to see if there's a break in the 3 wires from here to here. And then they're supposed to all have a certain amount of ohms. So what I saw online, black to blue is supposed to be 122 to 182. Black to white red is supposed to be 63 to 95. Black to white red is supposed to be 178 to 276. So here is what I believe is one of our issues. So as I said, blue to white red. So you got your blue wire down here. Put either tester in there and the tip is clean. And then I got the other one in the white red. I see we get 79.2. So that one is perfectly in spec. But whenever I do any of the tests with the black wire, I get nothing. Whether I do black to white red, I get nothing. Or I do black to blue, I get nothing. So that leads me to believe that there's an issue with our black, which would be our ground. So there's a break in it somewhere. You can see the black is right here. Otherwise, it's also right here. And I pulled the tape off this. This looked pretty good. So I don't really know what could be causing this. I might try and pull the black wire out of here and see what it looks like and see if maybe it's just unplugged or something. But I guess I will catch up with you guys when I figure something out. All right, guys, so we've went through all the wiring again. We made sure our kill switch was working correctly. We cleaned up these connections. We wire wheeled this, wire wheeled this, wire wheeled the top and bottom of all that. We cut back the ignition coil to get some fresh wire. We pulled the flywheel or the stator off. There was a bunch of corrosion on the points and not allowing it to not get spark. As you will see from the video, we have spark now. We have 130 pounds of compression. The last piece is fuel. So we're gonna get our ghetto air box off, pull our carb off, go through all of that, and then see if these cracks are all the way through or not, and try and get a first start. All right, so we got our side cover off here, and it looks like we do have an air filter and the cage in there, and it's oiled up, so that passes the test. We got our clamps here loose, so we should be able to pull our carb off. I'm gonna pull our throttle cable out. Oh, it's nice and oiled up, which is good. And yes, our cutout was towards the air filter. Seems, I don't know if that's in there correct, if that should be wobbling around that much. We'll have to look into that, I'm not sure. All right, so let's pull our carb off if we can. Huh. It's up now. It's fighting us on this plastic piece. Where are we getting caught? Maybe we could, oh, perfect. All right, we got our carb out. I'm gonna bring this over to the workbench and let's check it out together. All right, first thing we're gonna do is drop the bowl. Hopefully not get gas everywhere. Let's lay down a couple towels because we all know it's inevitable. Oh, really clean. So, looks like our floats stay in on these slides. Really interesting. I guess I'm not too familiar with it, but there is literally, let me grab a light so you guys can see. There is like no junk in there at all. Float appears to be working good. Let's go ahead and pull that main jet first. Where are all my adjustables? This big guy will work. So our main, man, that's hard to read. Is not completely clogged. I want to say it says 350, but that seems very large. Man, it was a little clogged. This thing is huge. That's the biggest main jet I've ever seen. Yeah, it says 350, so guess that's what's in it right now. Let's check the pilot. Here's our pilot. Looks a little mangled. Looks like oh, having a hard time. I see 35 and then there's something in front of it, maybe a 63.5 or maybe it's just a 35. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. It's somewhat clear. Yeah, it was a little clogged, but not completely. So that looks good. Let's try and get our needle and seat out of here. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's got to go out this way. Grab a little hammer, a little persuasion. It's not wanting to come out for me. Let's try. There's a little bit of a head on this side, or let's try some PB Blaster on it. Can try a little vice grips too. Where's my needle nose vice? I got stuff everywhere. That's coming out. So we're gonna leave that for now. Let's check our, this is our idle, looks to be all the way in. I don't know why you'd want the idle this high. Here's our idle. There should be a fuel air screw. It might be this guy right here. Oh, I'm not sure where our choke's not staying up. I'm not sure where our fuel air screw is supposed to go, or if there is one on this bike. Because like, so that hole is blocked off. It can't be that hole. There, it can't be either of these holes. This was the idle. Looks like there isn't a fuel air screw. All right, I guess we'll clean all this up, check the choke out, put it back together, and then we got our fuel, we have spark, and we have air. Fuel, air, spark, and compression, so we should be good for a startup then. Catch you guys when we're trying. All right, guys, I skipped a step. I'm excited. We're going to check out the reeds while we're in here. Might as well see what we're working with, see what we need to order. Talking about it's kind of just got cracks all the way around it. Actually, lucky enough for us, none of them appear to be through it. So if you look on the inside, none of those cracks are through it. So our boot is good for now. And this gasket's extremely brittle. That should be replaced. Let's pull our actual reeds out right now and see what we're working with. Oh, wow. These look real good. So somebody, like, see, there's no cracks on the corners. Let's make sure they open. Yeah, so that one opens, this one opens, this one opens. and this one opens, but none of them are sticking open, so that is perfect. Reeds need no attention. This is awesome. All right, guys, so we cleaned up our points, and we cleaned up all of the electrical terminals pretty much. We gained spark. We know it's not the right plug, but we're going to get the right plug in there. The seller stated it ran with this plug, so we know it did run at some point with this plug. It will work for testing purposes. Compression, we know we have 130 PSI, which should be enough to run. Obviously, we know we might have a little bit of air leaks, but so we don't want to run it lean and blow it up, but we're not going to run it for long. We know we are getting gas to the carb. The jets that are in it, it ran with. We don't know if they're the right ones, but it ran, so it should run with them for testing purposes, and the carb is all cleaned out. I did back the idle out a good bit, and I cannot get the the choke to stay up, so we might need to hold it or put a screwdriver in there or something just for trying it out. But we can turn we put fresh 40-to-1 in there. We can turn our petcock on. We see the gas flowing to the carb. And in theory, this thing should fire up. Snap back. We'll give it a couple priming kicks. All right, let's see what she's got. So let's see if we can find a way to get our choke. Maybe I can hold the choke up while we give it a kick. Ooh, she likes the choke. Idle on us, but she's alive. Let's adjust the carb a bit. All right, guys, so I've adjusted the idle, played with the carb, and I can't get it to fire up again. What I'm thinking it is the plug is fouled and it's not the right plug. We have plugs coming tomorrow, so I'll try that. I guess just because I'm curious now, I'm going to try cleaning off this plug, putting it back in, and seeing if I can get it to fire up again. I will take a video, so let's see if that does anything. Okay, guys, so we are back here. It is the next day. As we were we thought we were tuning the carb. What I was realizing was we lost spark. After trying to test around with things in our spark components, I realized the boot came right off the wire. So there isn't a great connection from the coil wire to the boot. I screwed in there as tight as I could. I gained spark again when I was kicking it hard. So in theory, we should have spark again, and we know our carb's clean, and we know we have enough compression to run because it ran before. So let's see if we can get this thing running a little bit better. Idle up a bit. Let's try no choke. Okay, it doesn't want to idle. Let's turn the idle up a bit more. Okay, still doesn't want to idle. All right, guys, we are back here with the 86 KX125. So we did take this bike for a quick ride up and down the street, and it ran pretty good. It shifted through all the gears, so we were happy with how the bike rides. The only issue with this bike is it's still not idling yet, and also it the shocks are not good, but I'm in the business of trying to make a profit, so we're just going to sell it with the shocks being how they are. We'll try the clicker on the rear and we'll see if we can adjust it, but really our only main concern left is to get the bike to idle. So there's a couple things that can cause that. Our oil fuel mixture could be off. I could have mixed it wrong, so we'll try a new mixture again that we'll measure out. So that could be causing it. The pilot screw in the jetting, or the pilot jet I meant, controls the first idle and then the first quarter of the throttle. So this could be idle screw related. I believe we had a 35 in here, which online says is OEM, and it's an OEM carb. So we could try a bigger idle or a bigger pilot screw. However, if the stock pilot isn't working, that means something else is allowing more air, causing it to run lean. So you shouldn't just add more fuel to it to get it to run good. We should figure out how the air is getting in. And there's a couple ways the air could be getting in. It could be getting in through the head gasket. It could be getting in through the reed cage manifold. It could be getting in through our crappy air intake. So the first thing we're going to try and do is change the plug, because also that could be causing it to be a little bit hard starting and to not idle. The plug could be fouled. So we're going to try a new plug, and what I found online for this bike was the NGK BR10EG is the plug people are running. So we're going to try that first, and I guess let's see if that fixes our problem. Our petcock on. We are in neutral, clutch in. Let's hold our choke up. So nice, it's fired up right away, but the spark plug did not cause or fix our problem. Guys, I realized why our choke plunger doesn't stay up. This black grommet is cracked, and that needs to squeeze on the rod to allow it to stay up. Saw online there's pretty much two options. You can wrap a zip tie around this, and sometimes it will allow enough pressure to where the rod will work as normal. Otherwise, you just gotta buy a new one for 20 bucks. So we're gonna try the zip tie method, and we're gonna get a new one on the way anyways. All right, so in theory, you can tell it works for now. You can still push it back down after, but this is not how we want our bike put together. But we're gonna try it just for now for testing purposes until the new one gets here. All right, guys, so we're going through and cleaning our carb out, making sure there's no issues there. We have the Pilot going through the ultrasonic yet again. We got our reeds and our reed plate out again. So again, we'll go through our reeds. I see no gap, no air would be able to get through there, no chipped corners. Like I said, the reeds look real good. They all open. But they're all staying closed. They look real good. There's no cracks in the block. There's no debris in there. Like, it looks really clean overall. Our gasket looks good. So here's the potential questionable part of the cage. And I will get a light. So see the cracks going all the way around that? That's what's worrying me, that air is getting in. So we're going to put some JB weld over that, and I'll show you what I'm going to use. However, if you look on the inside, none of these cracks are through it. So technically speaking, I'm trying to think how to show you guys. See, there's no cracks in there at all. So this shouldn't be impacting it at all. However, we're going to put some on there anyway. So I'm going to show you what, because it doesn't hurt to put it on the outside. Kind of just painting this on the... This is kind of a no harm thing. I mean, it does not look the best, but I'd rather have not an air leak and run this thing lean and blow it up. So, all right, so we got a nice coat kind of all the way around it, covered all the cracks we saw. No cracks on the backside. So now this is done. Our carb looks good. We're just gonna, I guess next we're gonna check out that air box and try and fix up that air box. So we got the whole subframe off the bike. Just checked out our air filter. Definitely oiled up, but it is a little dirty, so we're going to clean that up. Luckily, there was a cage in there and all the original hardware, so that is a great sign. This is what I believe is our culprit. As you can see, this thing is just atrocious. And what I mean by our culprit, making our bike run lean, which is why it won't idle even with a 35, the oversized or the largest OEM Pilot. So this thing, I'm gonna try and show you guys. Right here, we have a very large crack. Yeah, right by my thumb, you see that? There's a huge crack, and that goes straight through. Looking through it, there is a crack down in there, right there, you guys can see. So there's a crack through it, and this one are the only two I really see. However, I'm sure there's other ones. As you can see, the whole thing is just silicone. So what we're going to try and do is use that same plastic bonder JB Weld on the inside for this crack on the inside that we can see, and then obviously on both sides here. We're going to go real heavy on this one. And then, as you know, we re-inspected the reeds. We cleaned out the carb again. We fixed that choke. And we got a real good look inside the cylinder. I'm going to show you guys that quickly. But the only other piece that could be going on here would be the gas oil. The fuel mixture is off. Just doubling over on everything on the carb. I just did a once over again. Our pilot's a 35. Our main is a 350. I did see some people run a 30 pilot, so maybe we were running too rich. That's not what I thought at all. I think we're running too lean, but our float is free. There is absolutely no gunk in the bowl, and our float is set right. Our floats look really good. No pinholes or nothing in them. And the bottom of the carb is clean. So I'm thinking the carb checks out, our reeds check out. The last thing we're gonna check is that airbox, like I said. So now that we have the subframe off, we can see in the reeds really good. I'm gonna try and show you guys. So this is the intake side of the motor. There is our piston, and there's our crank. You can kind of see there's a couple lines right where the intake kind of shows, a couple scratches on the piston, but none of them you could feel with your finger. And I was able to get it down far enough to see the ring. Oh, I just missed it. The ring was free, so which is great, and that makes sense why we still have compression. Right there, you can kind of see the ring. I was able to push it in so it still moves freely. But yeah, so the piston looks good. Oh, one other thing I did forget about an air leak. Once you get it all back together, we're going to spray some brake clean all around the head gasket, and if that changes the way it revs, that means we have a leak in a bad head gasket. So that could be causing us to run lean. And we're going to pull this off and check that crank seal, because that could be causing us to run lean too. So we're going to try and fix that intake, get it all back together, and if that fixes it, great. Otherwise, if not, we got two other air leaks we can check, or two other spots we can check for an air leak or a bigger pilot. All right, guys, so we got the carb and the reeds and the intake back on the bike. We're hoping that fixing this air box and re-going through the carb help fix this. If not, we know it's a leak from the head or the head gasket, or by the stator, or it could be the fuel mixture. But let's check this out and see if it idles. Oh, and we also have our choke fixed now. Let's use our choke. Probably turn our petcock on. That would probably help. Because the carb was going to be empty, so obviously that was dumb of me. So the bowl should be filling up now. Yep, our filter's filling up, meaning our bowl's full. All right, let's try this again. All right, guys, so I just did some digging and some thinking. I'm like, what else could be causing this bike to run lean and not idle? It's not getting enough fuel, and the Pilot was on the large side of stock suggested online from what I saw. I thought about it. What about if my needle position was at the very top, indicating lean, and just pulled this apart? Look what we got. A needle on the top setting. So we're going to go ahead. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 settings. We're going to go ahead and just chuck it right back to 3, the middle one, and we're going to try from there. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this all put back together. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just moving the clip down. Then you put this housing back in there. And then you put this piece, and then you put your cable in, and then your spring. And then we're going to try it again. Hopefully it idles. All right, guys, so I just mixed up some fresh 40-to-1. I always run Yamalube 2R, 2-stroke engine oil for my 2-strokes. It's just the oil I like. I've never had an issue with it. Granted, you'll see the color difference because he might have used a different oil, but this was the mix that was in there before. Granted, yes, disregard all the chunks. The tank was dirty, but so see how dark it is? It was extremely rich mixture, way more than 32-to-1. And this was 32-to-1. So you can see it just has that tint to it. I think he was running this like 20-to-1 is honestly what I think he was running it. If you look in the tank, you can kind of get a better color. It's just that dark blue kind of mix. The green tank doesn't help show the color anymore, but so I mixed it 42-to-1. I mixed 2 gallons up. I used 8 ounces of this, 4 ounces per gallon. This is what I like to run. So we're going to give the bike a try tomorrow, see if it runs any better with that. All right, so we're trying to figure out why this bike won't idle. We got the bike properly warmed up. First thing we're going to do is, like I said, it's properly warmed up. We're going to check for if we got a leak. I'll move the camera a bit here. First thing I'm going to do is spray carb cleaner all around this intake gasket, and I'm going to hold it just above idling because it's not idling. So, and if we hear, I'm going to try and hold it steady. If we hear it change up or down, we know that there's a leak. Sometimes you won't be able to actually see the leak, but you'll be able to hear it by the fluid getting in. So we're going to check both sides of the carb all around where we know there's cracks and check that out. It's going to be a little tricky to do because I have to hold the throttle to keep this bike running right now. That's what I'm talking about. So how I take that, no leaks on either side of the carb. It didn't idle up anymore from either of that. Next thing we're going to check, I'm going to spray all around right here. And if we hear the idle change, that will tell us our head gasket is bad and allowing air to get in. So fire it back up and try that. Head gasket appears to be fine. I didn't hear the idle change last. I'm going to spray some in here. It's going to be pretty hard to do because this, obviously our flywheel is spinning, but there is a crank seal on this side back there that I should be able to, could be leaking. So we're going to try and spray this back in there and see if our crank seal is leaking, allowing air in. So I think it's safe to say that we're not leaking anywhere. The last thing that I really know we can check is changing our fuel mixture, which is kind of the simplest thing. I just didn't want to have to drain all the gas. But I guess we're going to dump out the gas that's currently in it, mix some new gas up in, make sure we measure that perfectly, chuck that in the bike and try that, and maybe that. Otherwise, we're just going to have to order an oversized pilot jet. It's kind of our only options. All right, guys, we figured out there was 2 springs on the throttle cable as well. We kept the OEM one on there. Not sure why somebody put 2 on there, but we took that out, and we set the throttle clip, or the pin clip, to the middle position, which is like pretty universal. So we essentially richened up the needle position. So we're gonna hope that helps this bike idle. We're gonna choke it. We're gonna unscrew the idle a bit. Come on, baby. I'm gonna turn that choke off. It doesn't like the choke. Turn that idle back up. I'm going to try kicking her again. Let's turn our petcock on. Still doesn't want to idle on us. Now to check the fuel ratio.